You built your life here, your business, your savings, your future. Now imagine this. You've decided you're done with the taxes, the costs, the policies, so you pack up, cross the state line, and start fresh somewhere else. And your old state sends you a bill anyway, not for something you did wrong, but for the simple act of leaving. While Washington floats the idea and California starts drafting the playbook, businesses are already moving, high earners are already relocating, and the people writing the rules are asking a dangerous question. How do we keep the money even after it's gone? Because this isn't just about taxes anymore, it's about whether states compete for your success or try to claim ownership of it. Here's the part where all the pieces line up and it stops sounding like isolated policy debates and starts looking like a coordinated trend, whether they admit it or not. From Seattle to Los Angeles, this is Left Coast News. No apologies, just the truth. Washington and California didn't wake up one morning and randomly decide to flirt with exit taxes. They're reacting to pressure, real pressure. High earners are leaving, businesses expanding elsewhere, and remote work is breaking geographic dependence. Revenue tied heavily to a small group of wealthy taxpayers. States like Washington leaned hard into things like capital gains taxes. California built an entire system dependent on top earners and capital markets. That works until those people start walking. Washington, the "we're not calling it that" phase. Washington doesn't have an official exit tax, let's get that straight so nobody accuses you of fear-mongering. But what they do have are capital gains tax upheld by the Washington Supreme Court, ongoing conversations about expanding how wealth is taxed, and increasing reliance on a relatively small number of high-income taxpayers. And now the uncomfortable part, the policy direction. Ideas being floated in policy circles include taxing unrealized gains at the point of residency change, creating look-back taxation periods, and defining wealth as earned in Washington even after relocation. You don't need a law passed yet to see the trajectory. It's not "you can't leave," it's "we still want a piece when you do." California isn't dancing around the idea. They've actually explored structured proposals. We're talking about policies that would tax former residents for years after they leave, apply taxes based on wealth accumulated while living there, and tracking high net worth individuals after relocation. Some proposals have included a multi-year tax tail, wealth-based taxation tiers, enforcement mechanisms tied to prior residency, and yes, companies are watching this closely. Because if a state is willing to pursue individuals after they leave, it raises a very simple question for business. What's next? Corporate versions of the same idea? While policymakers debate theory, companies are making decisions in reality. The Washington trend. Companies like Amazon and Microsoft, they keep their footprint, but they shift expansion elsewhere. They spread risk across multiple states. That's not loyalty, that's hedging. The California trend, then you've got the high-profile exits. Tesla moved to Texas, Oracle moved to Texas, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise also moved to Texas. And beyond the headlines, mid-sized companies are relocating quietly. Startups are choosing not to build there in the first place, and office vacancy is hollowing out major cities like San Francisco. The core problem? Mobility changed the game. This is what a lot of policymakers are still catching up to. Policy used to be tied to location, but now you can run a company remotely. You can move assets digitally. You can relocate your residents faster than a state can rewrite the tax code. So when states raise costs or uncertainty, the response isn't protest, it's relocation. The government response: control the exit. And here's where everything ties together. When businesses diversify away, high earners relocate, revenue starts slipping, states face a choice: compete for retention by lowering costs or stabilize policy, or they try to capture revenue before or after people leave. Washington is leaning towards testing the waters. California is already dipping a foot in. That's where exit tax style thinking comes from. The constitutional collision course. Now we hit the part that isn't just economics, it's fundamental rights. The United States has long recognized a right to travel freely between states. Limits on states taxing beyond their jurisdiction. If a state tries to tax you after you've left, tax unrealized gains tied to residency, or follow your income across state lines, that's going straight into a legal fight, and not a small one. This doesn't end with some dramatic collapse. It's quieter than that. What's already happening? Growth is shifting to lower-cost states. Investment is spreading out geographically. Companies are hedging instead of committing. And what's likely coming next? More aggressive tax policy proposals. Continued out-migration of high earners. Legal challenges over taxation limits. Increasing divide between high-cost and low-cost states. The reality nobody wants to admit. Washington and California still have massive economies, strong industries, and global influence. They're not exactly failing states. But they are testing how far they can push policy without accelerating the very behavior they're trying to stop. And right now, businesses are already adjusting. People are already moving, and policy is reacting instead of leading. The bottom line. This isn't just about exit taxes. It's about what happens when governments rely heavily on a shrinking group of taxpayers. Those taxpayers gain the freedom to leave, and policy starts focusing on holding on to revenue instead of earning loyalty. Because once a state starts seriously asking how to tax you after you leave, it's no longer just governing, it's trying to keep you on the books, whether you live there or not. Here's the deal. If you're watching this, you already know something doesn't add up. States are losing people, businesses are shifting out, and now conversations about taxing you on the way out the door. That should concern every single person paying attention. So drop a comment and tell me what you think. If a state tries to tax you after you leave, is that fair or is that crossing a line? If you're getting value out of this kind of breakdown, please make sure you're following Left Coast News everywhere. YouTube, Spotify, X, Instagram, Facebook, True Social, LinkedIn, TikTok, Rumble, and more. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who still thinks this is just normal policy. Because the more people understand what's actually happening, the harder it is to ignore.